Hi, my name's Nick Jarvis, and welcome to Light Minds. Um, in today's short video, what I want to do is go through the primary principles behind Light Minds. What's the basis of it? So you have an understanding of where the grounding, what the grounding is, what we need to know more about in terms of, as I've talked about in other videos, in terms of developing the areas we need to develop on ourselves. So if I can just share my screen with you. Let's have a look at that. There are three principles. Now, you might have heard of the three principles. The three principles actually refer to the three principles that were first articulated by a guy called Sydney Banks. He was the person that came up with the notion of the three principles. And the primary aspect behind the three principles is that we live in a world of thought, not circumstances. And what that means is that the world that we're experiencing from moment to moment is due to our internal thinking as opposed to the external environment that we're in. So a lot of people will think that how they feel in a particular moment is being determined by what is going on around them, when in fact that is not the case. What is actually happening is things are going on around them, and then through thought, they come up with their feelings. So it's an internally generated experience. Now, again, today I don't have time to go into too much detail. I'll cover those a lot in the program, and I'll cover them in some of the other short videos. But let me just explain this in terms of the three principles. So Sydney Banks was a Scotsman who had emigrated to Canada, and he had an experience, and he articulated the three principles as this. Now, then, just remember that the names that he's used are just labels, so don't think of them in the normal terms that you might. So, mind is the intelligence of literally all things in the world. It's the power that guides us through life. So there's an energy source behind everything that exists today. Everything comes from that, including the planets, everything. We come from this energy source. And guess what? We return to that energy source. So there's an energy, there's a power behind life. And people obviously have names for it, etc. You can choose your own. But this is the first principle. So something is powering us. There's a power source. The second is that thought is not reality, yet through thought we create our realities. Okay, so we think about how our experience is happening, how our reality is, but it's thought generated. It's not an objective thing. It's a subjective thing based upon our own thinking. So for example, we could all go, say, to a concert and come away with very different experiences, yet the same thing supposedly happened. The same band played, but we experienced something different. Why is that? Well, it's because each of us generates internally through thought our realities of that experience. And the third is consciousness. And consciousness is gives us the ability to experience life. We're aware, we're awake. So we understand what is going on. So mind is the energy behind life. Thought is what is creating our experience. And consciousness is our awareness of what is going on. Now, these are all very important. Let me just give you, before I get specifically into what it means in terms of weight loss, let me just summarize it slightly differently. And you might have heard this saying, our perceptions are our projections. So how we perceive something to be is what we project out onto the world. So if you take a projector, and the projector's showing a film out onto a screen, now there's an energy source, there's a power source behind the projector. Okay, so there's a power source going into that is mind. Then what's happening is the film is going through a lens, that is thought. So if there was a different film in there, you'd be getting a different version coming out. So if the thought was different, there was something else different on the screen. The screen is consciousness, our awareness of what is happening from thought. So that's another way of looking at it. So what's this got to do with weight loss? Well, here's the thing. We've got an energy source coming through us. That energy source is powering our life. It powers, so much of what we do. And I'll talk about this in some of the other things. But how we're experiencing life is about thought. So we're creating our life from moment to moment, our experience of life from moment to moment. Now, when we begin to see that and we become aware of this through consciousness, we can actually begin to see that actually what we think is causing our feelings and how we're responding in situations is not what we think it is. It's not our external environment. It's internally made up. So if I, for example, are feeling emotionally that I need to eat something, that's an internally generated experience. It's not an external thing. So therefore, that can change. And I can be responsible for changing it. Now, I'm going to go into what that means much more. But it means that how we're living in the world is not because of the way the world is, it's because of how we are seeing the world, which is incredibly liberating too. So your reality is mind plus consciousness, plus thought plus consciousness equals your reality. So whatever happens, however you are in the world, if you are in great shape, that's been created through mind, thought, and consciousness. If you're not in great shape, if you're overweight, that's being created by mind, thought, and consciousness. Okay. Now, some people will go, yeah, but my environment's such that I can't eat properly. Well, that is a belief that comes about through mind, thought, and consciousness. And there could be other people in your environment, same environment, who are in great shape. That's because their mind, thought, and consciousness, or their thought and consciousness is different, although it's being generated by the same mind. It's from the same place. Now, this might be a bit freaky to you, and I get that, because some people go to me, no, you're trying to tell me that I'm the person that's responsible for this, but you don't understand my background. Well, that's actually, I get that. But when you explore this more and more, you can begin to see that actually this is hugely liberating, because it enables you to be free to make choices yourself. You're not tied to the chains of your past, which is incredible. See, past is just memories. They're just thoughts. They don't actually, your past does not exist today. Yet some people will say, well, my parents, were feeders. My mother was a feeder, therefore I am the way I am. Well, your mother might have been a feeder, but you don't have to be that way now, because your mother isn't feeding you now. You can make different choices. So this is an amazingly powerful thing. So let's kind of summarize it. We live in a world of thought, not circumstances. The mind works like a projector, not a camera. See, cameras, it's fixed. A projector, we are internally creating it and projecting out the world. We experience things through that, what we're thinking, not some kind of objective reality. I'm a great sports fan. I watch a game and I'm talking to someone else about the game afterwards, and they go, that's not what I saw. I go, well, that's what happened. No, it didn't. There was an experience that I had which was different from the other person's. It's a bit weird, I know. Your world is what you think, but there's a world beyond your thinking. So most people are limited by what they're seeing and experiencing here. But actually, there's stuff beyond that. We all have different perspectives of the world. And the most empowering thing is your thought can change in an instant. That's incredible. So sometimes you can be really sad about something. You don't even notice it's gone. Well, what happened there? Your moods are changing all the time, instantly. If you make believe something long enough, it becomes real to you. You begin to think and feel and act as if it's true. And often you don't even know it's happening. But that is the reality of how we learn things from as a child. We just did things over and over and they became habits. So why is it important to be aware of the three principles? Well, it's important because when you understand principles, you can actually begin to build upon those. And when you understand that there are three basic principles behind our life experiences, and this is the point about light minds. So when we then understand the principles more, we can see the implications in terms of our behaviors and what we're eating and how we're moving, those kind of things. Because these three principles will govern how we're actually eating and moving. They're the things behind that. So for example, if you go on the NHS website, you'll see what they say is behind obesity. But actually, those things behind obesity are actually just symptoms. They're not causes. The causes are the principles that each of us are operating at any one given moment. And if you actually begin to understand them more, things can shift for you. So I say here, a painter who learns to understand the underlying principles of painting, such as color, texture, perspective, and line, is likely to improve his paintings. The same applies to us and learning the principles behind the art of living. So as you understand the principles more, you can, from moment to moment, understand much more about what is actually happening to you. And if you understand what is happening to you, in your moment-to-moment experience, you can have far greater clarity. You can see things differently, if that's coming up on the screen. I'm not sure it is, but you know, everything becomes clearer. You can see through. That's the important thing. Okay, so I go into this in much more depth. Let me just see if I did see that on the screen. No, it doesn't come up on the screen. I wonder why that doesn't come up on the screen. That I need to look into, because I use that all the time. It's a snow globe. That's a bit strange. I would love to see you on the Light Minds program. If you want to understand a bit more about this, by all means, watch the other videos. That'd be great. I hope you find that useful, gain some insights in it. And if you want to join the Light Minds program, it's www.lightminds.life. Click on the link as well, and it'll take you there. Great stuff. Thanks very much.